Hi, I'm Gerald Damon, and this presentation is going to be on Windows and Linux file system compared. So what is a file system before we get started? So a file system is a system that's going to organize and store data. It will determine how files are named, how they're going to be stored, and actually how you're going to retrieve them. Some quick facts about the Linux file system. For one thing, it does not use drive letters. So anything that's plugged into a Linux machine, you don't have like a drive letter C, D, E. So everything will be like a folder, but it won't be drive letters. And file and folder names are case sensitive. So everything in Linux is going to be case sensitive. So if you had a file called dog, capital DOG. You can have another file called lowercase dog, and it would be two different files. Another thing that Linux uses is going to be a forward slash to denote like a directory path. So unlike Windows, which uses a backslash, Linux actually uses a forward slash to denote a directory path. And everything is in a file. So anything that's going to be listed in Linux is either going to be either two things. Either it's going to be a file or it's going to be a process. If you plug like a hard drive in or like an external drive in, it may show up as media. It will be like a file name, but there won't be a drive letter for that device that you plugged in. Some quick facts about the Windows file system. Well, for one thing, Windows does use drive letters. So what you get is drive letter C, D, E, however many volumes that you might want to create. File names are not going to be case sensitive. So if you have a file called, again, dog, and no matter how you spell it, no matter what is going to be a capital letter or lowercase letter, Windows will see it as being the same file, and it will be a duplicate, and you won't be able to do that in Windows. And again, Windows file system will use a backslash to denote the directory path. These are some of the supported formats that Windows would actually support. So it does support the FAT file system, which is called the file allocation table, and there's a couple of versions of it. FAT12, FAT16, FAT32, and then the new one is going to be EXTFAT, which kind of mimics some of the things that NTFS can do. And let's get to NTFS. So NTFS stands for New Technology File System, and this was developed back in the days of Windows NT. It was the default file system for Windows NT. It started migrating to basic Windows installations as well for the client side because it had like built-in security. Has encryption, and to become a part of like a Windows domain, you have to be in an NTFS file system. Um, so that's enough about NTFS. Let's go on to Linux. So some supported formats with the Linux operating system is going to be the EXT family, which is going to include EXT, EXT2, EXT3, and EXT4. There's another system format that's supported by Linux. It's going to be XFS, and this was developed by Silicon Graphics because of the high performance. So which do I prefer? Well, for one thing, they're both are hierarchical systems. Okay. Now, I'll say my experience is more with the Windows operating system and the Windows file system. So I would have that preference, me personally. But I can see why a Linux operating system and file system may be more attractive for business use, at least on certain platforms, because it is thought to be more secure. Now, because Windows is more widely used, it has a huge install base. It has become a target for hackers because of that large install base. Briefly, I want to discuss enterprise storage systems. So there's two types that I'm going to talk about today. What is going to be cloud-based storage? So you can have an enterprise storage system. You can have it like stored in the cloud. There's a couple of large companies that will provide that type of service for you. One is going to be AWS. That's the Amazon file storage system. It's very popular. Lots of companies are actually using it. Azure, it's also an enterprise storage system that's made by Microsoft. It's also going to be very popular as well. Some of the advantages that you're going to have with a cloud-based storage system is that you don't have to maintain it. The companies will maintain it themselves. They have backups already built in, so it's kind of like a already built in, already thought out platform for you to have like an enterprise storage system. Um, Now, locally, there's the SAN solution, which is a storage area network. And what this means is that you're going to have like devices on your network that's going to grab all of that network traffic that's going to be stored, backups or whatever you're going to be backed up to those devices, and that will be stored locally on your network. And so you can have things what's called like a Bernoulli box or a box that has like just a number of hard drives or storage drives that's going to be stored in there, and it will you can back up all of your systems back to this one device. Now, one disadvantage of that is that you will have to maintain your own backups, so it's going to be something that will have to be maintained and managed on site by personnel of that particular organization. Now, what are some of the ethical considerations when you are talking about storage? One thing that comes to mind when I think about like data storage and the ethical, I'll say, stance that you should have when you are storing data is that I think data collection should be consent based, meaning that data shouldn't be captured and stored without the knowledge and consent of the parties that you're taking that data from. Um, uh, uh, in this day and age, a lot of companies are just collecting data just by going to their site, by using their services. Sometimes it's told, sometimes you don't know what's being taken and how it's going to be used. So when we talk about like collecting data, one of the biggest ethical things about it is that all parties involved know that the data is going to be captured, and you do have their consent to do so. Now, this is going to conclude my presentation on storage, file systems between Linux and Windows. And we talked a little bit about enterprise storage systems. We talked about the ethical considerations when storing data or collecting data. And have a great day. Thank you.